Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon. We now move forward with the next session in a row with an elliptic line of speakers deliberating on app modernization and DevSecOps, architecting and governing security in microservices, cloud, and DevSecOps, wherein we will be discussing about microservice architecture, landscape, different technology, DevSecOps, regulatory requirements, and API security. We would like to invite Mr. Praveen, Mr. Mr. Praveen Kumar, who is a CISO of Webmo, and the session would be moderated by Mr. Praveen. Next, we have Mr. Bhavish Pandey, a CISO of Eurofin Crop. Next, we have Mr. Rohan Prakash, a Director Sales Engineering and Product Management at Vissec. Next, we have Mr. Karvind Kupi, CEO of Securite. And in the last, we have Ms. Ratna Boli Yenda, who is the Deputy Director General Scientist at National Informatics Center. And we have Mr. Amit Woodkar, who is a Global Head of Cybersecurity at Kappa. So I would request all the attendees to share their comments and questions through the chat and Q&A option available at the platform. Over to you, Mr. Praveen.
Yeah, good to start, Rohan, now here. Hi, good afternoon. Hope everyone can hear me, see me. Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning and good evening, depending on where you are in this earth. Thank you, DSI, for inviting me to moderate this STEAM panel. Let me start with the small anecdote, right? Today morning, when I asked my wife that I'll be having lunch after 2 p.m., then she asked why. I told her I have a webinar. Then she told, again you are going for a webinar. Last time you told me that you have had enough of a webinar. Then I told her that it is different, it is relevant, it is important. That's why I'm investing time in this. Then let me tell you why this is important, why this is relevant, why this is much more important at this point of time. You must have heard, and I think most of our audience are related to information security area, right? You must have heard the evolution of CISO 1.0, CISO 2.0, CISO. Now there is talk on CISO 3.0. CISO 1.0, as you all know, that it is more related to the network. Whosoever understand the switches, routers, firewall, they were the obvious choice to become CISO in early 2000. Then there was evolution of CISO 2.0. CISO 2.0 is nothing but who put the business context in this information security or cyber security role, right? Who do understand that what is the business risk, how business risk and cyber risk are related, and who can also convince to the board that why this investment is required, how they were enabled to business for further growth. Those were set of people who were called CISO 2.0. Now we are talking about CISO 3.0. CISO 3.0, it is in much more demand now, right? Because CISO 3.0, who understands or rather who also understands CISO 1.0 responsibility, CISO 2.0 responsibility. Now CISO 3.0 is the additional set of requirement among CISO, right? Who also believes in go-to-market, who also believes in democratization of security, who also believes that security is not within the information security team or CISO world. It has to go across the team. Who doesn't believe in having the big six fat security team under him or her, right? And he wants to send this security roles and responsibility to the developer, to the operation team. So these are the CISO 3.0. And since I'm part of the CISO 1.0, 2.0, and also part of the 3.0, I'm seeing that lots of CISO are struggling to get into this 3.0 space. That's why I started that this is much more relevant, important for us, because this is the area, right? You must know this is the area is that where future lies with us, right? And that's why I must congratulate DSI to bringing this topic in this particular event, right? People are still struggling to understand the security even in microservices. What it should be the ideal architecture, what should be the security policies for container, what should be the security controls for the API. And yes, technology is also not matured. People do bring SAST tool, DST tool, and they understand that we are done with the security, but this is not the complete picture. And unless you bring this security as a code in your entire CI/CD pipeline, it will be very difficult to ensure that yes, your the modern application is secured, right? Because this microservices, as you know, this is a completely distributed architecture, and that's why CISO must understand they have an architecture of these microservices. They are very familiar for how to secure the monolithic application. But now we are talking about go to market, we are talking about agility, and most of the CISO are struggling to bring their security practices, security control to meet that agility, that speed. I know that every 2 weeks, 1 week, people are coming with the sprint, and security team will always say that hold it, let me do the scan. It takes 2 week time, 2 weeks time. By that time, business demand and the business people are very much kind of frustrated. So that's why this is very relevant. And to discuss this topic, we have very esteemed panel here. I think if we add all the experiences of this panel, will be around 80 plus years or so. So now you understand that that what the value you'll be getting out of this 45-minute discussions, right? So yes, I'll be your host. My name is Praveen Kumar, as one of the host has already introduced, and I'll be asking the very important, relevant question, very practical. I don't believe in gyan, I don't believe in jargon. I'll be asking very practical question that how and any CISO or security professional or even architect, enterprise architect ensure that our modern application or microservices are secure. So to start with, let me go to the Ratnaboli. Hello, ma'am. Ratnaboli, now you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. So you represent the Ministry of IT and Electronics and IT, and I believe that you have the macro macro knowledge as well, that what's happening across India, what are the guidelines, what are the expected regulatory, what is the landscape of microservices. If you could share your thought as part of your opening comments, so that we can take this discussion forward to other panel members.
Okay. Good afternoon. Well, I belong to National Informatics Center, which is a part of the Ministry of Electronics and IT. And for the last 15 years, I've been dealing with cybersecurity. And my specific area is application security. So the topic is obviously very close to my heart. And seeing the current, evolution that there has been in the application development area, the incorporation or getting security into the build of such applications is a continuous process. It's a challenge as well as a continuous process, and it's forever evolving. So taking that into account, I would just like to give you a bit of history, because I've seen applications migrating from the absolutely client server model to basic data centers where you had server platforms, on-prem server platforms, to virtualized environments, and now gradually going forward onto what we are calling as app modernization, with the concept of containers, and then further the concept of microservices, integration of APIs. And though this is a FinSec conclave, I would just like to share that even in the government, there has been a massive change in the way the applications are being thought out now, because as you can understand, there is a lot of intricate or interplay between the applications that have been, or the platforms that are existing currently. One such example, which probably all of you would have thought about, is the PFMS application, which integrates with averagely most of the government applications for doing any sort of direct benefit transfers to the citizen. So you have to realize that having governance applications which are more citizen centric now, which was not the case 15 or 10 years ago, you have to have enabled such provisioning in the applications. and you obviously have to have interfaces which can cater to the requirements of several such platforms or applications. So taking that into consideration, the necessity to leverage the current infrastructure that is available in the cloud, or the kind of services or the technology that is possible to be leveraged to make our applications more agile, more ready to be marketed, is what is the requirement. But being a security person, I would say that somewhere even today, as has been the case earlier, or when we started with securing applications, the thought of security comes as a post factor. Even today, we are talking of dev and ops, DevOps, and we've been talking of DevSecOps. So, integrating security into DevOps for probably the last 5 or 7 years. However, and we still find that the ability to build in security into the development life cycle, to have secure SDLC or SSDLC as I would call it, is such something that probably is still at a very nascent stage. Or I would say the thought process is there, but there is not enough mobility into incorporating it, probably because the requirement of provisioning becomes much more critical. So security always comes as an afterthought. So we have been talking about security by design earlier. We've been guided by various we've been doing the testings, the procedures that would build in security, but again as an afterthought. So today I think my take in this particular discussion would be that we need to think of how we can build in security methods, or create a pipeline, or create a flow in such a way that the applications which get onboarded, the platforms which get onboarded, are secure to a major extent. Of course, we cannot rule out post testings, or continuous testings, a continuous assurance that is required for us to be secure. Because as you all know, and especially during the pandemic, it has happened that the attack scenario has become more and more intense. So that has certainly to be there. But building security into the DevOps process is the prime call of the day. And I think that is where we should probably focus upon. So that is my take. I think we can go ahead from there. Thank you.
Yeah, Ratnavali. Thank you very much for bringing the DevSecOps, security by design, the training part, the agility part, the go-to-market part. This is all good, right? But let me understand to the CISO, Bhavesh, right? I'll come to you, right? I know that you have been practicing and you're very much part of CISO 3.0. Give us our audience the very practical tips, right? And very practical tips. If any developers or DevOps manager is coming to you, boss, this encryption is not feasible in container to container. This is today's relevant question, right? One of my DevOps manager reached out to me that if I encrypt microservices channel from 1 to 2 right, then there will be performance issues. How do you ensure that this DevSecOps or complete CI/CD pipeline is secured? How do you govern that? What are the policy? What are the KPI you have? How do you train developers? How you democratize your security to the end user? Can you share some practical tips based on your personal experience, Bhavesh? Can't hear you. Bhavesh, you are on mute.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for having me here. So as you started with CISO 1, CISO 2, and now we are moving into CISO 3. So yes, we are already in CISO 3 because in CISO 1 network security, then in CISO 2 all governance and compliance. Now it's a democratization of all these security services, and user as well as customers role in our entire business landscape. So I will start with our practical experience, our day-to-day experience. Like I am a CISO in a BFSI industry. So our key application has to integrate with multiple different application, maybe partner application, or maybe some payment related application and different third party application. So we are very much dependent on with API for these kind of integration. And again, then agility comes in picture, because I will give you one example. Like in festival season, that is comes from September to November, when this Deepavali and Dasara season comes. So our target is to disperse loan within 2 minutes. Fine. And in that 2 minutes only, you have to check multiple things: your negative database, your civil record, your UCIC records, and then you have to give that particular result to your customer, okay, whether you are giving loan to them or not. If you will not give that particular result, that much effect customer or that loan. We could design a mind of. That's a very big challenge to secure our product, secure our API, secure our entire landscape, as well as keeping business in mind, to perform, to deliver to the business. That's a very important challenge we are facing these days. And we can say we are satisfying our business. And after all these things, look, now in security we are learning using castle model. Cases have all patching. We have a different kind of monitoring mechanism, but other than that, we have to come with a certain plan to educate our user as well as customers. As far as user are concerned, our continuous awareness program is very much required. But now we have started giving some kind of awareness to our customers to prevent certain fraud, certain cyber crimes. Because what we have seen now, even our customer is one of the source where these kind of cyber threats are coming. So that is these are the practical experience I would like to share here.
Yeah, thank you, Bhavesh. So let me go to the different set of speakers now, right? We have Rohan here, who is also the service provider of one of the company called Versec, right? So now, Rohan, you heard me, you heard Ratnavali, you heard Bhavesh, right? And we three represent the mass CISO or security practitioner, right? And everyone is interested to secure, right? But there has been practical challenge, right? That in terms of visibility, in terms of KPI, in terms of securing the pipeline, in terms of API security. I would like to understand on behalf of my audience that how your solution or you personally committed to solve or make our life easier, how your solution help us add value to our day-to-day life. If you could help us to understand, Rohan.
Sure. I hope you can all hear me fine.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ravi. And I think I would kind of double click on the aspects that Ratnavali ma'am and Bhavesh kind of highlighted. Right? There is a need of more integration.
Rohan, your voice is echoing.
I don't know. Yeah, we fix that.
I think we'll come back to you, Rohan. If you could log out, I think we are not able to hear you. The same question in the meantime, Kamarendra, right? You also head Secure Eyes, right? And you have presence in India and different cities and across the Middle East as well, right? The same question I'll ask, and maybe I'll ask different question from Rohan, that what kind of solution you have and how you are adding value to solve the problem of CISOs in their day-to-day life. Karmendra?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much, Praveen, and I hope I'm audible clearly. So after listening to you, Ratnavali ma'am, and Bhavesh, I think one of the key factors that we've also seen as cybersecurity service providers is that over a period of the last 1.5 decades, the move, like you said, the CISOs moved from 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0. Similarly, I think the maturity of the entire financial sector, in this case, since we're talking about FinSec, has also moved from, I mean, I don't have a number, but if I may say 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0, where today they realize the importance of integrating security into the entire development life cycle and the entire application life cycle as such, when we talk about applications. While earlier the emphasis was more on technology security, where the infrastructure, both the network and system infrastructure, were the key emphasis of security controls. Now it is being realized that it is very important that security is built into the entire application life cycle. And this is the way we have seen is that earlier customers used to come to us only at the end of the development life cycle to say that guys, we have an important application to go to production, so please test our application and tell us how we can quickly go to production. From there the shift has now happened where we have customers who come to us saying that we want to develop a governance around the application security lifecycle, where and which is where the DevSecOps comes in. DevSecOps comes in where they want to integrate cyber security or application security specifically right from the time of the requirements definition stage to design, development, testing, and deployment. So the entire lifecycle of applications requires or is expected to follow security guidelines. And one of the, I think, the shift which has happened is, like you said, the maturity of the organizations, where they now start looking at governance, not only the technical testing. And governance ensures that the application is secure from within and not just patchwork happening post application development is completed. So that is one thing that we have observed over this last 1.5 decades. The second thing I think which is very important to underscore is that with microservices coming into play, the threat landscape has increased, because earlier it was one application providing all the functionality which we had to really look at to secure. Now there are multitude of microservices spread across various containers, various virtual environments, depending on whether the organization is using the application completely in-house or using third-party services, open source services, etc. So the landscape of even a single application has really extended beyond the organization's perimeters. Now, with that comes in multitude of challenges, which I think is something that that organizations are realizing post multiple breaches which have happened in the past. In the recent past, they realize that it is not only our infrastructure that we need to secure, but even the third parties and the partners with whom we integrate. And that is a shift. That's a clear shift where they not only ensure that if they have an internal development team, the development team follows a secure development lifecycle, but even they try to ensure that their partners and third party who from whom they take services also follow a secure development lifecycle. Plus, a very clear emphasis on vulnerability management of open source components and third party off the shelf components. So an emphasis that I've seen from CISOs also is that whenever a third party component or any open source component is used, they ensure that a security testing process is at least done to provide them assurance that this is not going to compromise my entire business landscape because I just relied on a third party or open source component. So certainly there's a shift, but it's a journey. And with the sudden occurrence of this pandemic, there have been so many online services which want to just go to the market immediately, without giving time for security. So with that, I think, like I said, it's a journey. Post-pandemic, pre-pandemic, I would say the journey consciously looked at security and gave time. Post-pandemic, while the importance is felt, but the go-to-market is really, really very I would say the pressures on go-to-market are really high, where security has its space, but how much space is a question. Over to you, Praveen.
Yeah, Karminder, I think, yes, I do agree. You brought two, three very relevant topic here, and I'll go to the Rohan. Hopefully, we'll hear loud and clear.
I
this
hear
time.
you. Is it fine now?
Yeah, Rohan. Yes, it's much clear. So now, question to you, Rohan. Right? As you know, the Karmendra brought two, three very interesting points. Right? That integration with third party and through API and use of open sources. Right? Especially in this microservices architecture, and bank is nothing but now they are called as API banking. Right? And all financial industry are moving in that direction. Right? So this is very pertinent question to you, and very focused question to you, Ron. That coming to the integration with third party or the API or the using of the open source, and also this is mandatory. This there's no choice, right? And plus also security. Being CISO practitioner like me also has to ensure that since this is unavoidable, but still I know we should be secure. How you bring this fine balance, and if any practical tips for our audience, because this is what they are looking for out of this 45 minutes discussion.
Absolutely. So as you rightly said, right, there will be a lot of dependency on third-party components. There will be a lot of dependency and risk that comes along from those components, right? I was reading 2 days back, I think some 30 images that were pulled from Docker Hub, and 220 million instances of pulling were done on images which have crypto miners baked into it. Now, how do you tackle those kind of situations? Because there was inherent trust in that whole doc that everything on Docker Hub is probably should be fine, but then that's not the case, obviously. And same with the case with any kind of third-party or open source libraries or any other third-party APIs that you might be calling, because you trust by nature of the business, you are trusting the other bank, right? Even contractually, not just in the common sense of it, right? Even contractually, you are trusting the other party. But there is that always need of trust but verify approach here, and you can't really. And it's what I'm saying is that is becoming more and more difficult to integrate that whole aspect, the third-party aspect of it, towards the left of that overall DevOps, right? Because you don't have control over those third-party libraries, third-party certificates, or ciphers that they might be using. And that's where towards the right side of it, there is more scope for work that can be done, right? Which is where the operational side of it. Then people, processes, and technologies can be implemented to act as a compensating control, right? That not only helps you reduce the risk which you kind of face because of those third-party libraries that you might be using, or files, or APIs you might be calling, but also helps you in a lot of compliance requirements, right? Because unfortunately, our compliance or regulatory requirements are still not as agile as business want them to, right? And compliance would still want you to the security to be 1 or 0, right? And business wants things to be more incremental in nature. And that's why if you have those ability to have compensating controls in place, where even if you don't have 100% security built in at the day one, in spite of all the best practices, in spite of all the right coaching done, you still have additional controls on the operational side of it, which can protect you, which can still stop or mitigate the risks that comes along. Now, important aspect to this point is those compensating controls should support DevOps workflow, right? Should support the DevOps intention, which means that they have to be agile enough. They can't really sit for say thread updates, or they can't really wait and sit for some sort of learning to happen, because containers lifetime average is 2 days, right? You can't wait for 15 days for to learn. By the time the application has changed, everything has changed all along. So the compensating controls that we are talking about need to be more kind of resilient in nature, in the sense that come what may, right? What different kind of threats, different kind of vulnerabilities, they are still able to automatically, largely because there's no room for again manual intervention. Will be able to go on and mitigate those risks for you, known, unknown, disclosed, undisclosed, right? It could be from third parties, libraries, container images that you might use. So that's an important aspect. I still would hope that more focus goes towards that direction. I'm sure it will happen eventually, but right now in the whole DevSecOps story, the more right now majority of the focus is towards the left side of it,
which is where you can't even blame developers today. They are doing all the right things, but if a third-party library that they're using has a vulnerability, they can't really do much about it. And that's where ops needs to be kind of be there as well.
Yeah, yeah, Ron, that's great input. Let me go back again to Ratnaboli, ma'am. Ratnaboli, ma'am, you touched upon many very interesting things, right? That shift left culture or DevSecOps culture, right? As you all know, DevSecOps is not a technology, right? It's all the shift in culture, right? And shift in mindset. And I would like to understand on behalf of my audience that you know what kind of optics you should be concerned of while changing from DevOps to DevSecOps. What kind of KPI you should be looking at? How training you should be giving to the DevOps team? What kind of automation you need? What kind of investment you need? Should we be doing in-house, or should we be using the cloud of AWS or Azure? Any practical tips for our audience, Ratnaboli?
Okay, thank you. I think there are two key things that one needs to consider here. One is the possibility of as much automation in the process as could be. And the other is what you mentioned, the cultural shift, which has been there. I think the last decade has really shown the shift in the attitude of the developers to move towards more secure development. So development has to be secure by design as well as the development process, the coding, that is. So there have been several, insights into secure coding practices and which have been emphasized upon. There are checklists, there are guidelines, there are testing procedures. Everything is there. But considering that the code needs to really move towards more and more agility today, and Rohan mentioned that 2 days and 15 days, that is the kind of demarcation. So the delivery has to be as quick as possible. So I would think that building the DevSecOps as an automated process as much as possible is the right requirement, for which you would obviously have to incorporate that in the DevOps CI/CD pipeline. And so far as the developer is concerned, or in this app modernization process, the static code analysis or the SAST process is something that is to be a sort of a complete part of the ecosystem. I mean, it has to be probably in their in their flow continuously while the development is happening. Only that would probably make the code and the development as secure and as quickly secure. Of course, that does not rule out the necessary methods of doing testing, the vulnerability management, or providing assurance, as has been done over the few times. So there are integrations of automated procedures which the developer can handle, which is the left shift. And at the same time, it has to be also contemplated that the continuation of the testing procedures as would be done to assure that an application can be onboarded with the right amount of security, that also has to come through. So it's a sort of combination of both these activities. And to come to that, I think the other factor is that especially developers are being provided by the academic. So I think the developers' necessity to understand the requirement of the nuances of security building in their development process is something that we as the industry have to continuously work at. That is building the awareness on building self-learning methods where they could test their provisioning of secure coding methods. So I think that are the two key factors that I would like to talk about. But since you are talking about having ultimately a secure environment for onboarding a platform, I want to emphasize on one more factor, especially when we talk about microservices, because microservices are small components. So it has to be understood that unlike in the monolithic structure where everything was in our control, we are dependent on various microservices which are with several components, and each of those components, not only the code, the application, but the environment in which it is hosted, has also to be looked into. So the machinery, whether it is the virtual machine or the cloud service that is providing it, has to have the right methodologies of securing that. Only then would the application that is dependent on all these interplays would be secure to a major extent.
Great input, Ratnavali ma'am. Now let me
Thank
come to the Bhavesh, right? She just spoke about the right methodology, right? I would like to understand from Srijan CISO like you, Bhavesh, right? Being a CISO, what is the sources of assurance you have on the development side or DevOps side that what they are doing is doing in secure way, right? How you get assurance first, and also they have the different demand from CISO. Like I get every time new demand, right? How do you ensure that and how do you negotiate with the business team that yes, this is your demand is genuine, but security is also important. And there's some practical tips that there should be some fine balance and a trade-off, right? We talked about trade-off. Some practical tips that how do you get assurance that this our code is secure first, and second that if a business needs something which you are not comfortable, then how do you convince them that yes, I understand your demand, but this is not the right way to do. Some practical tips being CISO.
Yeah. So look, development to deployment, development, then quality testing until deployment in a secure way is a need of hour, and even business is ready to give us that time frame to deploy in a secure manner, because we have seen there are so many media highlighted breaches where there are some vulnerability left in development phase. It was not tested properly, and the application was live and running, and that vulnerability were exploited. So what we have done, so we have created a complete agile cybersecurity plan, and our entire development till deployment we have incorporated in that particular framework. So every stages from project initiation stage only, our security team will involve in each and every stages. At development level, they have to follow our cybersecurity plan. They have to understand what the risk, what kind of threats are related to our product. That team must understand the risk and threat related to organization and impact if we will keep any kind of loophole in our development thing. Then second stage, that is the quality. That is very important. We give as much time as we give on development side. So quality team has free hand to test each and every aspect of that code, whether it's related to business use cases, related to security use cases, and related to any vulnerabilities they have in KNDB or anywhere. So they have free hand, and anytime they can go back to the development team with a recommendation, and they have to implement, and they have to roll back particular gaps. So this is the framework. So I would like to give you a few things. Other than only development to deployment, we must create a very robust agile cybersecurity plan to incorporate development in that particular plan until deployment. And this should be this plan should not be like it's a one-time case. Okay, prepare and forget it. No, this plan should be reviewed periodically, maximum once in a minimum once in a quarter. We must review our agile cybersecurity plan, because sometimes what we have seen, organization in initial stage they prepare a cybersecurity framework, they prepare a plan, and after that they forget it. But no, because cybersecurity threat landscapes are evolving day by day. So we must update ourselves on each and every space. We must review all our cybersecurity plans, policies, and even SOPs. We must review our SOP, critical SOPs on a regular basis. So that's my
very interesting
to everyone.
Yeah, very practical. Audience request for you, if you have any question, because we are running short of time, please do. There is chat box you can see, and please write your question. Happy to take one or two questions depending on time. Let me go back to Rohan. Rohan, right? Bhavesh just not touch about that QA, right? I personally believe that QA role is irrelevant, in this DevSecOps era, right? Do you still believe that QA team should be there, or all security should be handed over to the developers with the proper training, with the proper framework, with the proper automation? What is your thought on that, Ron?
So from an operational basis, yeah, I think it should be merged. It should be merged. Yes,
Okay.
function. But always as
Uh, sorry, Ron, your voice is again breaking.
fine now.
Can I
Yeah,
reply
better.
you? Can I reply you one line here?
Yes, Bhavan, go to.
Yeah. So look, in BFSI sector, most of the regulator has clear cut instruction like, look, there should be a maker checker control. So you cannot leave all these things to the development team. There must be one quality team to look after what you have developed. So if you will leave even quality check with developers, it's a non-compliance to the regulator, and you will get non-conformity and in regulatory audit, and it will be very heavy penalty or sometime suspension of license of business. So you cannot take this risk. So it should be a different team for development, and then their testing or quality. Quality is a very important aspect.
Yes, Bhavesh. There is
In fact,
a regulatory constraint, and thank you for bringing this. Now, let me go to the Carmen and asking again some different question, right? Again, I'm asking this thought-provoking question, right? Is DevSecOps feasible or can be built within our on-prem environment, or we have to use the cloud environment to make our CI/CD pipeline or DevOps functional? What is your thought, Karmendra? Without cloud, can we do in-house?
yes, I think like you rightly mentioned at the beginning of the second session that this whole DevSecOps is a shift in the mindset rather than dependent on whether it is on premise or on the cloud. The whole thing is about the process, where we are, where security is becoming an integral part of the entire life cycle of the DevOps process. And so whether it is, in my humble opinion, whether it is a on-premise or a on-cloud installation, DevSecOps is extremely relevant. Also, you see, it also is very important in the DevSecOps to have very clear vision on the processes that the development teams, the security team, and the ops teams follows. Because now, for example, earlier change management was a prerogative of the IT team. Over a period of time, we see that security has become an integral part of change management. That is because it was somewhere realized that changes do impact security. It is not only during the development phase. So it is about integrating the processes of development and ops and infusing the security at the right places, the intervention of the security team at the right places, so that, and like Ratnavali ma'am mentioned, that as far as possible, automating each step of the development life cycle, irrespective of whether it is agile or waterfall or the spiral model or any such model. It is very important to identify the right interventions of security so that the entire DevSecOps considers security as an integral part. So yes, so that's what I would like to add.
Yeah. So Rohan, last thought, right? We could not hear you at that time. The question remains same, that whether QA is still relevant, or we can completely hand over the security practices to individual like developers.
I hope you can hear me fine now. Okay. So yes, I mean, I think there is still a governance framework that as a CISO would want to have, in spite of being handing over the day-to-day operation checks and balances. So then you would still want to have a governance framework for it, either driven because of some sort of compliance. Okay, PCI DSS, you have to do it every quarterly, or just in-house also, right? You may still want to do some of those checks and balances. So at least you are risk aware on day-to-day basis and monitor your compliance posture on day-to-day basis. Not just compliance has to be continuous in these days where the changes are continuous.
Yeah, thank you. I think we have reached top of the time. Thank you once again, all panelist member. I really personally enjoyed, talking with you. Hope I asked relevant question on behalf of my audience. The key takeaway, after discussing this 45 minutes for my audience, if I can summarize in 30 seconds, right? DevSecOps or microservices or application modernization. This is a journey. It's not a sprint. First of all, right? And this has to flow from top, and this has to come from top, definitely, to create that culture, and because this is also very cultural thing, and lots of automation required. So management should understand that investment as well in needed, very much needed, maybe slowly, stepwise, but investment is required, and commitment is very much required. And coming to the security of microservices, I think that the basic of security remains same here as well. The defense and depth, the segregation of duties, the need to know basis, the layered security. And I can give you one example of API security, like from start from authentication, then access control, the encryption. Same, there's layers of control, right? It is very important to implement this philosophy in your cybersecurity practices, in your governance, in your policy, in your SOP. Organizer, do we have any question for us? If not, then we can wrap up here. Okay, I think there is no question. Thank you once again, gentlemen, and Ratnaboli ma'am, and looking forward to have similar discussion in future. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.